You probably heard the phrase, "A stable core is important for runners." It usually leads to instruction like suck in your belly button and keep attention in your core. It looks a bit like this, and also do a posterior tilt of the pelvis, which for some reason some people think is a good thing. The instruction squeeze the glutes does approximately the same thing. Sure, a strong core and strong glutes are extremely important for runners. But here comes two of all the reasons that make having a tension in your core muscles so you get a stable midsection is a so-called bullshit instruction. 1. To begin with, the whole concept of holding any part of the body in static positions with your muscles is so incredibly misconceived. Your pelvis rotates in a three-dimensional motion and your shoulders should move like this. This is how the body should move when you run. This shoulder slides back a bit, while this part of my pelvis goes back like here, swinging back, and these two go there, and here, and here. The hip extension and the shoulder sliding. With a better hip extension, you get a better power in your push-off. And you may have seen how the shirt or the skin moves on the stomach of elite runners when they run. If we now pretend that this is the skin of an elite runner, there are usually diagonal lines going like this when they run. And why? Because this here or like the way it looked when Alma Sayana broke the world record for the 10,000 meters at the Rio Olympics. And these lines are completely impossible to get if you have your tension in your core muscle. You should be stable and still here and sucking in the belly button and tighten your glutes. And since we know there are these lines on the elite runners, they don't hold still. They just don't.
Yeah, but it must cost more energy if the movements are bigger. Because larger movements cost more energy than smaller movements.
I hear you say. No, these movements come mostly from relaxing and letting the movement happen, as opposed to putting energy into resisting the movement, which both costs more energy and causes you to lose a whole bunch of other biomechanical benefits. And don't bring me that argument that, oh, this is the way you run only when you're an elite runner and not when you're a happy amateur doing like 10K in 65 minutes. Because you should move like this, independently of your pace. The movements are just smaller when the pace is slower and bigger when the pace is higher. 2. Just like cross-country skiing, it's important to get a good push-off. The push-off is backwards. Even though when you run, it's the leg that pushes you backwards, which leads to the so-called hip extension. The hip moves like this. Now, a femur can only move backwards in relation to the pelvis by about 30 degrees, like that. And that's about how most hip joints work. Now, here is the pelvic bone and here is the femur, moved about 30 degrees backwards. So to get a really good push off, like double Olympic triathlon gold medalist Alistair Brownlee here, it can be beneficial to have tip the pelvis forward a little bit. But maybe the pelvis isn't tipped forward. Instead, it's just actually included in the importance of leaning your body forward, like this. And then he gets his hip extension, there with the rotation. But if you suck in your belly button, have tension in your core muscles, or squeezes your glutes, and do have a posterior tilt of your pelvis, it looks like this. And then it becomes impossible for the double Olympic champion to get this nice hip extension, which is part of why he can run so fast and efficiently as he does, or like these runners do. So please, stop tensioning your core muscles or squeezing your glutes while running. It gives you a lousy running technique and it costs you more energy. But as always, do as you please. I don't care. I'm only here to give you the facts. I truly hope you liked that video, and if you did, please click the like button and maybe also the subscribe button. And feel free to check out all the other content I have here on my channel. And maybe you are also interested in my online course. You'll find it at fredrikzillén.com.